Welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of the Liberty First Foundation Roundtable. With me tonight, I have Michael Vasquez, Frank Tasty Biscuits Johnson, Jeremy Primo Libertas Bishop, and I'm Michael Marshall. Um, Here, we like to have a discussion on basically about the Constitution, about different legislation pieces that are being enacted across Congress throughout the United States and sometimes in some states. Hold on a second.
Hi, Jan.
We also have discussions about some of the happenings that we see happening across the United States. And we'd like to have a discussion about how it's affecting the United States politically, and more importantly, how it complies or doesn't comply with the Constitution. So that I'm going to go ahead and let somebody else start up the discussion tonight.
Oh, I can.
Go right ahead, Michael.
We can start with, as you can see in my name down there, it's breaking news, just came out, and I think it's appropriate. Ukraine wants to join NATO. Why should anyone care? Because if NATO is allowed, if the Ukraine is allowed to join NATO, America instantly is at war with Russia. Now, there are individuals out there like Tim Pool and some others who are saying, well, that means World War III. No, I believe it means that is the start of 3 regional wars around the world. I think that means that China will go into Taiwan, and I think that we will see Iran, possibly North Korea, start acting up as well. So there will be 3 areas. Why? Because we have an administration that has no international policy. They can't handle Afghanistan, where they left thousands of Americans to this day. They're obsessed with an election and not considering the consequences of their actions. And if we allow Ukraine to join while they're at war, we are instantly going to be sucked in, and we can't handle it. We're not prepared. On top of that,
well,
I don't want any of our kids to die for the Ukraine.
And here's the thing, okay? Our NATO treaty demands that all member states of NATO defend every other member state of NATO.
Right.
So if a member state of NATO is attacked, then all other member states of NATO must join in defending that nation state.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying if we let them join, we are instantly at war with a superpower. And I don't want our kids to die. And Russia is incentivized at that point to use nukes. And we would see China, North Korea, and or Iran all instantly go ballistic because we can't handle that. Not under this administration. And I don't think that's worth it.
Is there any other history within NATO of member states being admitted while they were at war or while they were in conflict of some sort?
No.
Because you would seem to me that would kind of be a excuse the term, a pre-existing condition for denial. I mean, you can't go running for help while you're in the middle of God knows what. I mean,
not according to the terms of NATO. They don't even address it. It's never been an issue before. It's never.
No, it hasn't. And prior to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and that's point blank what it is. It's an invasion of Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ukraine had been denied joining NATO multiple times. They've applied multiple times, and they've been denied each time. And one of the biggest reasons why they've been denied is because of the repercussions from Russia. And now here we are seeing that they're actually in the middle of a war with Russia, who attacked them first, and we're discussing letting them join in with NATO.
Yeah, mind you, we're in a proxy war right now. We are economically at war with Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Well, plus, we're also supplying weapons, funding, and everything else to the people that are fighting against Russia. Jan just said that we're sending them weapons today, just more rockets.
And the thing is prior to them joining being allowed to join NATO while in an active combat, or an active war, NATO group members should be allowed to make the decision whether or not they want to ally with Ukraine and actually go there and fight. That keeps the rest of NATO out of the war. Because if
I don't think we can do that. According to the terms of NATO, that's not an option. It's all in. Either no one is in or everyone is in. As far
all
as
NATO was not involved with us in Afghanistan.
But that's because we weren't being attacked in
exactly.
No, but it's Western Europe.
If a member of NATO goes to war in Ukraine, they were not attacked. They attacked Russia. That does not give them the defense.
See, I don't think that's the way they read it, because NATO is centralized around Europe. So if any of those members are attacked, that's why they would go.
They wouldn't have been attacked.
Well,
they are the aggressor.
Russia was the aggressor against Ukraine. If they join,
right? Ukraine's not a NATO member.
But if they join, they will be, and they have been attacked already.
Listen to what I just said, Mike.
Maybe I'm missing you. Okay.
Okay. Prior to Ukraine being allowed to join NATO,
right,
members of NATO should be, if they choose to, allowed to ally with Ukraine to end that aggression.
Okay,
which would exempt NATO from being totally involved.
Right.
I mean, in lieu of.
Right. I missed that. That one word was key in there, and I missed that. I apologize. It's my fault.
Mm-hmm. Because then at that time, Ukraine's not a member of NATO yet. Okay. Mm-hmm. And this still allows other member states, if they want to help Ukraine, so be it. That's on you. Okay. But once you join in, then the NATO treaty is no longer an obligation. So if Russia attacks you after you join with Ukraine, we're not coming to your defense because you were classified as the aggressor.
Yeah, it's a big mess. I don't know. I don't. And I think as much as we're talking about it and we're contemplating this and saying, what the hell, what are the implications? I think most of America right now, and this is breaking news, it just came out. I think most of America is saying, wait a minute, what? I don't think anyone has understood the consequences. And we have a government right now that doesn't even consider consequences to what they're doing. Well, they just go forward with what'll get me votes.
I want to know, where was this response when Russia invaded Afghanistan?
They didn't care.
Or the last time Russia invaded the Ukraine. That wasn't that long ago. Okay. No. What about the other nation states that Russia's invaded? Okay. Those have all been missed. I think the big focus on this right now is to push us towards a war.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. Because if we go into a global war, even if it's a tri-regional war, if we go into a war that is global in scale, you realize what that is going to do here in the United States as far as the implications of government control?
Yeah.
What happened during World War II? Okay, look at the control government took during World War II.
Yeah. There's so many
Took over
aspects.
food,
took over all resources.
food, fuel, metal resources. Yeah.
Every
Internments,
resource
including people.
was under
They interned
complete
people.
governmental control during World War II.
Well, first, what we got to do is
Speaking
look,
of,
we have to look to Twitter first. That's what we really want. We have to look to Twitter first, identify and find all the people with the little flag up in the corner that says pray for Ukraine, and put those people on a plane and let them fly over there and collect some of the firearms that we've sent there, collect some of the billions and billions and billions of dollars that we've sent there, let them suit up and let them get their feet wet. Let them be the front line. Let them be volunteers, mandated volunteers to go over there and do what they have to do, and do it with although they're doing it of their own volition, so they're not really representing America. They're representing themselves. Let them go over there and fight that, let them take care of it.
It's not even trending on Twitter right now. Nothing about this is trending.
Obama is trending on Twitter.
Well,
They got nothing on Twitter talking about Ukraine or NATO.
I think Russia is actually also, I think there's a lot more going on all this than a lot of people will realize or understand on an international scale. How many people have seen the Nord Stream pipeline sabotage that happened over?
Yeah, I think we I can't remember. No, we didn't touch on that last week. It was Wednesday when we recapped
this week.
Well, I have a theory on if we want to switch to that. I think they both apply. I don't think it was the U.S. or Russia that sabotaged it. It was Iran. They have the opportunity. They have the means. No one's paying attention to them. It serves their interests. They win in all aspects.
I was going to ask, what would be their
on that? Iran's got its hands full right now with the rebellions going on in its country.
That's not that big to them. They have lots of those rebellions, like the Green Movement back under Obama in 2012. They can handle that. That's actually very minor. And we're talking about the IRGC, the Iran Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is their terrorist wing. They can do this. They are trained for it. This is something that they would normally do. They have the resources for it, and they are somewhat independent of the main governmental body. They're currently training terrorists around the world. They could do this.
Okay.
And meanwhile, while we're all debating this and our country is arming this friggin' war and probably going to get dragged into it at some point, the president of these United States once again came out and made the promise to ban assault weapons in the United States in his term. Because why did you send those weapons to the people of the Ukraine? So they could defend their nation. They needed those weapons to defend their nation against a hostile enemy. Okay, why can't we have them? Well, we're not. We're your enemy. We're just not hostile. I mean, oh, geez. Did you see how many times this guy got lost this week?
Oh yeah.
I can't count that high.
On 3 separate instances that the media showed us, he completely walked away from a podium either at the end or middle of a speech, or addressed a congressperson that's been dead for 3 months, looking for her in the room, fully her expect. Now we understand all those ghosts that he's shaking hands with. It's John Conyers. It's this guy. All the deceased Congress people from the previous term are meeting him and hanging out on stage. That's the only reason I could think he's out there shaking hands with people that don't exist. But that's right. They were all
kissing hands and shaking babies.
Have anybody ever heard that expression
What?
before yesterday? Top of mind.
Top
Yes,
of
I
mind?
have.
Oh, come on, man.
I have never heard that expression in my life, and I think I'm pretty well rounded as far as regional things that I've understood. Different. I mean, like if you ask somebody in California what's a bubbler, they're going to tell you something completely different than somebody in Massachusetts. But I've never heard of somebody say top of mind. I've heard somebody say it was on the top of my head. Off the top of my head, I could think of this, or off the top of my head, I could think of that. On the tip of my tongue, or it's on the roof of my mouth, it's at the back of my brain. I've never heard top of mind and then have it repeated 17 times while trying to explain why the president thinks that dead people are walking around in the audience.
He's just
Frank. I'd like to think I'm well-rounded too, but it's because I eat too much.
You and I are in competition.
I'm telling you guys, this man is 2 weeks at most, 2 weeks after the 2022 midterms, he is gone. They're going to start the proceedings for the 25th Amendment. They're going to debate about it, back forth, blah blah. Kamala's taking over.
And
She's
they're waiting until after the midterms because they have to.
Yeah.
In order to allow her to have her 2 full terms, which will essentially give them up to 12 years. Okay. She would have to.
All right, listen. That woman is as I can't say dumb as a box of rocks because it takes some intelligence to actually fold the box up into the container to put rocks into. But she's not exactly the most astute individual on the face of the planet. She knows how to use a couple of tools of her physical being to get where she needs to go. And she's a plotter, but she's not the brightest light bulb in the chandelier by any stretch of the imagination. You really think
she's
that
about as smart as a mud fence?
I mean, if they're going to put the reins in her hands, in somebody's hands, don't you think they'd want to at least try to put the reins in somebody who has a better grasp of the language, or is somebody who might be a better orator?
No,
Barry, because I don't think that they're going to give her the.
They have no choice.
One, they have no choice, and two, she's black and she's a woman of color, which is 2 check boxes on their must-have diversity list. They don't care about the rest of the stuff. Hell, look, they got Biden trotting around doing that. They don't care. They just want check box. You can't pick on her because
but they know that they know that if she had to step into the batter's box with a Donald Trump or a Ron DeSantis, that she's going to be completely and totally decimated, not only linguistically, but just on sheer presence alone.
Yeah, but then they could say they're being mean to a woman and that it's evil because they're picking on a woman of color and they're just racist. That's their thinking. That's the logic behind it.
Yeah, let them say that as much as they want. I think at this point right now, too many Americans are done with too much of that friggin' softball bullshit tactics that they're gonna fly with that. They might try to paint the house that color, but the paint ain't gonna stick. Not now. Too many people have been hurting for too long for them to sit there and go back to that small ball argument about they're being mean and it's trying to prevent her from breaking the glass ceiling and all the rest of that.
They're doing it already now.
Because they might look to oust her along with him and say, if we couldn't, the president's judgment is obviously impaired, and it was impaired at the time that he made his vice presidential choice, and might look to oust her first, nominate a new vice president that they could all person into the vice president.
Well, the new vice president nomination would have to be approved by the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now the order of I'm drawing a blank. The order of progression, essentially.
Ascension.
Presidency ascension. That's what I was trying to think of.
Mm-hmm.
goes from the president to the vice president. If the vice president's incapable or found to be unsuitable, then it goes to the Speaker of the House.
Right. I understand that. But what I'm saying is the president can oust his vice president, appoint a new vice president that has to go through a hearing, get approved by the Senate. The Speaker of the House never going to lay claim to the vice presidency or the presidency if there's a vice presidential nominee in place. They approve a new vice president, then he is forced to step down. The new vice president moves up the chain.
Biden can't just remove Harris as vice president. Okay,
Why not?
she either has to be impeached or removed via Article 25. Okay, she
He
can't
can't
just
just be like,
be.
nah, I don't like her
removed.
anymore.
Okay, so she would either have to resign, be impeached, or be removed due to some type of Article 25 type of hearing
Well, don't be
where she's
surprised.
proved incompetent. And if they
Well, don't-
push that, then they'd have to push it on Biden.
Well, don't be surprised if there's not a video of her and Mayor Willie Brown floating around there somewhere that could be used to force her out. They don't put anybody into a position of power unless they have enough dirt on them to remove them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they got plenty of dirt on Kamala. I mean, how did she get into politics?
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Her and Willie Brown. I guarantee you, there's something going on there. Who knows? Maybe she was maybe she's the one that set Marion Barry up.
God only knows. She would have done anything. She is as ambitious, if not more ambitious, than Hillary Clinton, and has less intelligence.
That's a scary
which is
thought.
terrifying. Yeah,
Right.
it is.
That's what I said. She used the tools at her disposal to get where she was, using a minimum of strategy to get there.
Yeah.
And the minimum of strategy was who's next in line. Where's my knee pads? Excuse me. Sorry, I had to say it, but it's true. It's true.
It's a known fact.
And how this
If
and
the
how
shoe
the feminist
fits,
movement,
or the
how
knee
the
pad.
feminist, well, how the feminist movement embraces this person and says that this is a role model for people. This is not a role model for people.
No.
It's because she's a woman of color.
The only
And
time she
that's
could
a checkbox.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
the only
all
way
they
that
care
she
about.
broke any glass ceiling is because she was bouncing off the bed she was using.
They don't care because all they're
It
going to say
doesn't
is
matter.
women of color. That's all they care about. Look at Ketanji Brown Jackson. They don't care. She has the right politics, woman of color. That's all they were looking for. That's all they cared about. There are literally 8 other Black Democratic judges that have more experience and are more qualified, and they were just too old. So they didn't go with any of them. And all of those women, all 8 of them, were smarter and harder, more difficult. They weren't yes women to the party. Ketanji is. That's the only reason why she's there. They don't care. They just want their check boxes, someone to be obedient enough to fill the space and do what they say. We see that consistently. It's terrifying.
Well, I could just tell you one thing about Ketanji. She's not a biologist.
And she may or may not be a woman. Yeah.
As her own
Well,
self has described it, she can't identify.
as a response to Jan's comment, Jan, according to Biden, neither is Vass.
Well, yeah, that's true because I didn't vote for him.
That's
Okay,
right.
right now, Kamala Harris. Okay, this is from Statista.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris has a favorability rating
22.
as of September of 43%.
Oh, it's gone up a lot. She was at 27% at one point below, what's his name? Potato. Dan Quayle. That was only like.
Actually, my mistake, 42%.
Yeah, but that's
Potato.
incredibly high. She was the lowest rated vice president ever beginning of this year. She was
Well,
below
the
Dan
reason
Quayle.
it's as high as it is because they've kept her out of the public light for a little bit of while, and it's being used and it's not a matter of them saying, "What do you think of Kamala Harris?" They associate that with, "What do you think about Biden and Harris?" And they put both of those into the same questionnaire, and then they use them as a matter of comparison.
Well,
So,
they'll add in something like, "Geez, what do you think of the first black female vice president?" Which again is biasing the response, because a lot of people will say yes just because she's black and or, well, she's sometimes black, sometimes she's just a woman of color, and a female. It's crazy.
well, today she just came out about the hurricane in Florida, and how that they're going to be directing FEMA to distribute resources, and it's not going to be to those who are the greatest affected, the most in need, or the most likely to perish, or communities most devastated. It's going to be based on equity.
What?
Resources are going to be distributed to hurricane victims based on equity.
Yeah.
Equity of
I understand.
communities of color. To use her term, we're going to be distributing those funds first into the communities of color, because we have to distribute things based on equity. Now, I don't know, but I'm not going to even get into the demographics of Florida. Look at where the damage is. Look at where the damage is over there, and you help the people that are in damage. It doesn't matter where people live. You help the people that are hurting. Doesn't matter what color they are. This administration goes everything through the perspective of a lens of color, and it's disgusting.
I'm dumbfounded.
It's absolutely disgusting. There's no red, white, and blue. It's black and white, and that's it.
Well, what about the Environmental Equity Commission that was just set up under the DOJ?
The what?
The Environmental Equity Commission that was set up under the DOJ. You guys didn't hear about that?
Yes, that was at the beginning. Biden signed that into law. It was one of his executive orders that the United States government must consider diversity in all of its departments and all of its legislation. It was one of the 40 executive orders he did on January 21st, 2021.
No, this is a new commission that's coming out.
There's another one?
Just set up.
Oh, God.
Well, that's right. Some of the 68% of the federal judges appointed by Biden since he became president, 68% have been women, and 66% have been people of color. Not one mention of what percentage of the 84 federal judges he's appointed have been qualified.
Oh my
But
goodness.
if we're paying attention and kind of looking at what's going on around Biden right now, is pretty much everything, everyone in his powerhouse, everyone he's listening to, everyone he's partnering up with is female.
I don't have a problem with anybody's sex, color, religion, creed,
Neither
whatever.
do I.
Qualifications. Are you qualified to do the job? Are you going to do the job the right way? That's the only thing I give a shit about.
Right. My problem is his ease. I don't know what the word would be. Ease ability to be manipulated, I guess, and how I feel like that's probably being used right here is how easy he has got to be to manipulate.
Well, if we were worried about him having intentions on any of the people that he would be appointing, I would say that he's probably in the wrong age demographic, because they're probably all much older than his usual choice of flavor.
I don't know. Leonardo DiCaprio cuts him off at 25. So
None of this stuff makes any sense, I tell you. Mike, do you see what I'm trying to share?
oh, I got you.
Okay, so this is Kamala Harris. This is the first source. This is the only source I can find that shows this. And literally, she's saying, it's our lowest income communities and our communities of color that are most impacted by these extreme conditions. She's talking about a hurricane, and impacted by issues that are not of their own making. It's a hurricane. And so we must have to address this in a way that is about giving resources based on equity, understanding that we are fighting for equality. You can't do that. You can't have equity and equality at the same time. And then she goes on, but we must also need to fight for equity, understanding not everyone starts out in the same place. First of all, that statement makes no sense. She goes on to say, and if we want people to be in an equal place, sometimes we have to take into account those disparities and do that work. By the way, you can't see me. Okay.
Oh.
This is insane because nothing she says here makes any sense. You cannot have equity and equality. Equity prioritizes certain people at certain times. So therefore, you cannot be equal. Equity invalidates equality by definition, unless they, and even if they change the definition of equity again, it still invalidates equality. So there you're wrong. She's talking about people based on this is a natural disaster, and what we're supposed to go to this homeless guy, and his house just got destroyed, that woman's house got destroyed, that one's house got destroyed, none of them have a place to stay. By the way, you're black, you two are white, you two just sit in the water and tread water for a while. For the black woman, hey, we've got food and water and a house for you, because that's the equity she's talking about. She's going to let people die to be able to say, hey, I checked a box on these people. This is not only insulting, it's damaging, it is anti-American in every essence of its way. It defeats the purpose of our government, which is to protect the people. My God, how did this woman get any amount of power? And how can we possibly look at that and not be insulted and angered as American citizens?
We know how.
Well, okay. I just found that department that I was looking for. And this is under the Department of Justice. The Office of Environmental Justice.
Oh, God.
The Office of, and like I said, this is under the DOJ, okay, which means that this office has the power to institute grand juries, has the power to issue subpoenas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, basically has all the enforcement powers of the Department of Justice. Okay, the Office of Environmental Justice will engage in all Justice Department bureaus, components, and offices in the collective pursuit of environmental justice. The mission of the OEJ is to protect overburdened and underserved communities from the harm caused by environmental crimes, pollution, and climate change. The OEJ will serve as a central hub to implement the Department of Justice comprehensive environmental justice enforcement strategy, build partnership with community advocates, and provide fair and equal treatment and involvement of all people in the environmental decision-making process.
Environmental crime. We're talking about it, literally in Switzerland, they are debating that if you have your temperature too high, that is a crime. In California, they told people you cannot charge your vehicles, your cell phones, you can't use your electricity because it was just about a crime. They denied people the ability to use their facilities in their homes, literally going into the programs, the software, and locking people out of.
That was Colorado, where they locked them out of their home thermostats.
That's right. And there's another spot. So we're talking about those are the environmental crimes. It's a crime to use electricity in a way that the government doesn't want you to because they're micromanaging your life. And we have a department saying, oh, we have a federal government office that's saying, by the way, we're going to make sure you are punished for not doing what the government told you to do. That's not America. Period.
Oh, this week you're allowed a gallon of gas. If you buy 2, however, DOJ is going to come and arrest you.
They're coming after our parents going to PTA meetings. They're demonizing people for daring to question the government in Philadelphia Reichstag moments. They got a Department of Environmental Crimes. It's now a crime to heat your home, or they're damn near making it that. And we've got these guys running around telling us that some people should starve and die in a hurricane, a natural disaster, so that they can check a box on their political agenda. And we wonder why the economy is falling apart, why no country respects us, no country fears us, why our country is becoming more and more divided by the day. What the hell has happened here? People, you've got to vote. I don't know who you're voting for, but look at this stuff and make up your mind. These are reasons on why you need to vote.
Mm-hmm. See, doesn't say there's a lot of parts of it that I don't miss, but I really miss September 12th, 2001, when everybody wanted to band together.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of other things underlying and going on and stuff, but that feeling from almost the first year after that happened of almost unity between everybody.
Oh, we got kids now who,
and I don't think we'll ever see that again.
It's already dying off. It's already dying off. There are kids in college right now. They have no clue what 9/11 is about. They know it's a day, and they know they don't have to go to school, but they have no idea what it's about. It's terrifying.
Absolutely.
In half an hour, we've talked about 3, maybe 4 major issues that are absolutely terrifying. Absolutely.
And none of them are on the mainstream media.
And the media is just glossing right past it, going, oh, yeah, that's just a thing. Don't worry about it.
Oh, this is good.
I mean, really, we're about to go into a world war. We're they're trying to let people die in a hurricane. We've got idiots that are trying to make crimes out of heating your homes. We've got, oh God, we're talking about so many levels of wrong. And each and every one of them have consequences that will last decades and will devastate hundreds of thousands of lives. I mean, none of this is small stuff. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of lives being changed, at the least, in the best case scenario, for decades. Whether it's a war, whether it's suddenly deciding how we deal with people in natural disasters because of the political look to it, whether we're talking about changing who's going to be in charge of our government and how they're going to lead us, dividing our nation because you didn't vote right, so you're a bad guy.
Okay,
Harris.
I got a question for you guys.
Also aimed at DeSantis as
I got
well.
an answer.
Yeah, that's the politics of it. Yeah.
Okay, I've got a question for you guys. What group in the United States do you think would you be the least concerned about being a threat?
Conservatives.
Multiple choice.
I would probably think the Amish.
Well, yeah, definitely the Amish.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
They're great. I mean, they don't care. They don't mess with anyone. Mind you, they're not peaceful.
No, the Amish will throw down.
Yeah. They'll fight, but they're just not.
I'd never fight an Amish dude. Mm-mm.
Wait a minute. What? Are you kidding me? Really?
Wow.
I mean, I was just going off the top of my head. I didn't even know this article existed.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, the feds have been going after the Amish big time for the last couple of months. Somebody at the FBI or the IRS has got a hard on for the Amish. Maybe he got turned down during Rumspringa, or maybe he got himself a piece of bad furniture, or got some raw milk that disagreed with him. I don't know, but somebody got a hard on for the Amish in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and they keep going after these people time and time again, and eventually they're going to go knocking on the wrong door.
Those people do not play around.
No, and what I'm telling you, what's going to happen right now is you're going to have something happen with the Amish, the same way that it happened at Waco.
Yep.
The same thing that happened with the Amish is going to happen, like what happened at Waco.
But it doesn't make any sense to me. You buy stuff from the Amish, you know what you are getting. It's not even a question of buyer beware. Ooh, you didn't.
It's not a matter of it's not a matter of what we know or what we don't know. It's what the government doesn't approve of. The Amish didn't get permission to do that. They didn't pay the tax for that. They didn't get the permit for that. They didn't submit that form in triplicate for that. They didn't kiss somebody's ass for that. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. They found one little thing to bitch about the Amish, and since the Amish can't be swayed by the manipulations of the media,
no,
because they don't watch it, they have to be brought under the boot of the federal government and be forced to comply. It doesn't matter that they're an independent group, that they don't bother with anybody else outside their group. They have limited contact. They do whatever they do. The fact that the Amish do a lot of bartering.
Yeah.
They don't use a lot of currency. The fact that they help each other, that it's a community, that has to be destroyed.
The Amish are the embodiment of community unification that we push for.
They are. They are the ultimate of community unification.
And you can't even say they force people to stay, because when you go there, as I understand, you grow up with the Amish. At 18, you get to decide if you want to stay. You can leave.
As an adult, you are able to leave the ordinal at any time.
That's right.
You're not forced to stay. If you leave, you're excommunicated, but that's it.
But you can do it.
Right.
So, oh my God. How can we not say that we are watching America become more and more authoritarian, and not because of the right? I mean, they want to blame us for everything. They want to tell us that we're Mussolini.
Well, that's not the only armed response from federal agents.
And meanwhile, you got that. Well, Michael's looking that up. You got the mayor of Philadelphia going on Fox Philly in the morning, telling the boldest, outrageous lie I've ever heard, saying that the majority of murders in the United States, that because of all the crime rates that are all spiking in Trump-covered counties.
Not true.
And Trump cities, and Trump states, and Trump neighborhoods, where Trump won the vote, is where the murders and crime rates are spiking. Is this guy for real? As I stand here today, on the day after
the Oakland shooting,
after an EMT Allison Russo Elling was stabbed to death in a random attack on a Queen Street, stabbed over 20 times. While commuters went back and forth about their business, she lay on the sidewalk dying in a pool of blood while people stepped over her, walking by her in New York City.
What about the Oakland? There's the gang that shot up a school, a gang not kids, not a mass shooting. Gangs shut up a school in Oakland. That story, by the way, is being killed. They're dropping that off the news media because everything they've ever said about mass shootings, red flag laws, everything that all the gun control things that they've absolutely promised will protect you in California as well as the rest of the nation absolutely failed because it has nothing to do with gangs or criminals. Doesn't stop them at all.
Well, look at the balance of the scale they have to do. Well, do we call it a school shooting or is it gang violence? Is it school shooting or is it gang violence? Well, shit, we're going to get blamed for both. Ignore it. And it didn't happen.
Yeah. What's this? Biden's DOJ sicked on the FBI.
It is this ridiculous bullshit.
On pro-life father.
He's outside of an abortion clinic doing his preaching. He's got his son with him.
Oh, right.
An abortion activist gets in his face and gets really close to hitting his son. So the guy shoves the guy. Mm-hmm. Get away from my son. The guy falls down. They get into a yelling match. The preacher eventually goes home. DOJ sends friggin' SWAT to his house to arrest him for a friggin' hate crime. Break down his door in front of his 7 kids with their government-issued tactical rifles.
Yeah.
So it was my rifle, it'd be an assault rifle, but it's theirs. It's the government-issued rifle.
Yeah. I remember that story. And yet again, another example of this. This doesn't make any sense. And we are becoming so authoritative. We're allowing this. This is becoming normalized. It's insane. And in every one of these cases, when you look at this and you just change it, and how does this not look like 1939 Germany or Mussolini Italy to people? And yet they're telling us, well, if you're right-leaning at all in Sweden, in Italy, in Chile, then you're evil. That's what they keep telling us. And yet look at what they are doing. They're blaming us, but look at what they are doing.
Here's the thing that's really, really bad about this. In June, Houck's attorneys told the DOJ that he would voluntarily appear if, in fact, charges were filed in the case.
And they busted down his door anyway.
Yeah. In front of his kids.
Yeah. Remember when Elon, the illegal alien, got arrested? Everyone was
Elian Gomez, right?
Yeah. And they don't care about this, though. Oh, no.
Elian Gonzalez.
Yeah, that was his name. And
Janet Reno.
They were freaking out then because it was an illegal kid and they came in with the ATF. But this, they don't care about. It's insulting.
Okay. I mean, this is, and now we've got this new environmental justice agency. Okay. How many more of these attacks are we going to see on the American people? On quote unquote enemies of the state.
There is no justification for any of this stuff. There's nothing in any of the Constitution, the amendments. I don't even see law. You can't. This stuff isn't justified. I mean, they may feel good about it because they're all about feelings. You know, remember AOC. It's not about being semantically, grammatically. It's not about being correct. It's about feelings. But none of it's legal.
It's ridiculous.
They felt good about Kenosha until somebody defended themselves.
Yeah. That's not me, is it?
Give me a Chinese meal. Oh, what a deal.
No, it's right.
I know what that is. He's out of his mind.
I'm just having a little background music.
I want to show you guys something. You know this.
Try the potato wedges.
You won't, actually, but this is how bad it is. Josh Riley is a candidate. He's running in New York State. He's running for the New York 19th district, right? And this candidate put out this tweet today. He's been attacking. Fine, I don't care about that. That's not the important thing. Here's what he's complaining about from the Republican candidate. He wants to outlaw. This guy is saying that you have to allow states cannot outlaw abortion, period. That's what his answer is. That's what he's standing on. That's against the 10th Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
He's literally saying we need to get rid of the 10th Amendment because he doesn't like it. What other, and I did ask him, what other amendments are you willing to get rid of? Because you are literally saying states cannot legislate their own laws. They have to go with the federal government. They have to go with the party in charge. That is insane. They are literally at the point where they are actively telling people we're going to eliminate the Constitution and the amendments, because that's what he said. Outlawing, if you say states cannot make their own laws, the 10th Amendment doesn't exist. That is authoritarian. Am I wrong? Am I misreading his statement?
No, there's a pretty good reason why the 10th Amendment was there to begin with. And that's so schmucks like this get his way.
You know, and I don't care if people, it's not about abortion. It really isn't. What we're seeing there in that statement wasn't about abortion. It was about the 10th Amendment. It was about being able to have laws that you think that are good for New York, or California or Illinois or Kansas or North Dakota, wherever you happen to be. It's about laws that apply to you in your community that make sense. Are we supposed to get rid of, does every city now have to comply with federal law? They can't make up laws for themselves. Your local community doesn't get to make a law for your local community. Everything has to fall under the federal government. Because that's what he's saying. Mm-hmm. You are no longer an individual. You are just a peon, a serf to the state, and you have to say, period.
Well, let's get rid of the 10th Amendment, and then so he can do what he wants to do as far as abortion is concerned. But once he has his way with that, then let's go after something that he likes, and take away one of those freedoms, and then see how quickly he's tuned about the 10th Amendment. Same with the Democrats wanting to get rid of the filibuster. Until they have a filibuster-proof majority, and then they don't care about it.
Yeah, well, according to what Josh Riley is saying, for the 19th district, which would apply to Congress, which means it's for he's talking about the entire country. If we get rid of the 10th Amendment, all those people who believe in the trans rights and believe in we have to have equity for the trans that we're seeing in New York, we're seeing in California, that's gone. All those various states that have said, oh, we have to have special protections for illegal aliens. We have to have special rules for the trans or LGBTQ or the 62 different genders or people who want to be a toaster. All of that goes away. You lose all that.
Oh, speaking about what's going away, everybody in New York, get ready. You only got 10 more years because gasoline engine-powered vehicles will be outlawed.
It's not even going to take that long to get to. You can't have a gas-powered furnace. They are already starting that.
They started that with the housing thing a couple of years back.
Oh, no, there's a new bill. It's A31.
No, they embedded something into something I read not that many years ago. Houses that were built before 1977 versus houses that are built after 1977. It's some EPA thing where they're trying to basically turn it into stabilized rent situations with houses over a certain amount of years have to be such and such.
Yeah,
furnace and that kind of furnace. It's government overreach in the worst degree. There's 6,000 things that they're doing, and it's not even a matter of doing it through law. They're doing it administratively through the building departments and code in New York. These are things that don't have to get voted on or anything else like that. They're doing in the state what the Supreme Court just told the federal government a couple of months ago that they're not allowed to do, and that's agencies writing law. Well, that goes for the federal government, has nothing to do with the cities, the states. The state administrative agencies can still change whatever the hell they want, whenever the hell they want, without any input from the people or having it be the result of a direct election.
Yeah.
They'll do whatever they want and continue to do it.
I'll send you guys the link. You'll be amazed by this. It's crazy because they're changing it so that as of this year, you can't get a new house. You can't get a new house without electric heat forever. And they're expanding it as we go further closer to 2024. Meanwhile, by the way, every projection New York State has, they don't know there's at least 10% of the electricity we need for the state. If we go completely electric, they have no idea where it's coming from. They do not have enough electricity to run the state, but everybody has to go to electric.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be back.
All right.
That's a pretty snazzy looking banner you got there up behind you there, Jeremy. I like that.
And by 2026, you will no longer be able to buy gas-powered appliances.
Yeah, it's crazy. What they're doing is so insane. And I just, it's so frustrating.
And I have no problems with advancements in technologies and moving on and so forth. But I was talking with somebody, and here's the thing. The internet, as ubiquitous as it is now, started where it was somewhat accessible in 1992. Okay. Prior to that, the first networking technology was developed in the 1960s. I believe 1963, but I'd have to verify that. So 1963 to 1992 before the internet. That's 29 years. And here we are, we're trying to take and literally overnight. Okay. And when we started adopting the internet in 92, not everybody had access to it. It wasn't until recently that it started becoming so ubiquitous where everybody had access to it. Okay. Basically around 2006 is when it started becoming fairly universally accessible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's even another 10 years after it started. Okay. And here we are, we're trying to change overnight, going from a predominantly gas supported heating infrastructure to a predominantly electric infrastructure. It can't happen that fast. It just can't.
Especially when they're trying to change it to electric based on renewable energy, that doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere in the world that it has been tried, it doesn't work. Look at Germany. They did this. They turned off their nuclear plants, they stopped their coal plants, and they tried to use renewable energy. It didn't work, which is why they're turning back on the coal plants, they're turning back on the nuclear plants, and they're praying that they have enough gas from Russia to get them through the winter. And they don't know what's going to happen after that. They have no plan what happens a day after January. They don't know if they can keep people warm and alive because they've got the wind, the solar, the hydroelectric. They're doing it all, and it doesn't work. And they want America to suddenly switch everything up. I don't understand this stuff. They think we're dumb. They think we don't understand what's happening.
Well, enough of us
The
don't
problem
understand
is-
what's happening because they keep electing the same jerk-offs who keep screwing everybody.
Good
So
point.
apparently they were onto something. They were onto something because otherwise it wouldn't be happening.
So
infringe me harder.
here's a headline that came out. Oh, when was it?
Don't mind me.
Trying
I'm
to
gonna
find
mute
the date
myself.
on this.
What you looking for, Mike?
I'm looking for a date on Denmark was able to run their country for 24 hours on 100% wind energy. And everybody's touting this as this is proof that we can do this. And this was on
Denmark is
February 22nd, but I don't know for sure the year. I think it was last year.
That was my birthday.
Wait a minute. Are we talking about a city or are we talking about the nation?
The nation, Denmark. I'll share the article.
There's less people in Denmark than in New York City.
I know that.
Well, the good
But like I
news
said, this is what people are trying to hold up as
Don't make
being
sense of it.
proof that we can do this.
You can't compare a nation that is as small as smaller than New York City and say, oh, they ran it. There's no comparison.
Well, I'm also willing to bet the energy consumption in Denmark is nothing compared to that of New York City.
Well, they were able to generate 97 gigawatt hours of energy.
I don't know what a gigawatt is.
That wouldn't. There are literally, I just looked it up, 5.8
Or 10 million homes.
All right, Nancy Pelosi's ice cream freezer uses that much energy.
There are 8 million people in New York City. There are 5.8 million people in the country of Denmark.
Thank you. That's what I was saying. And I bet they are way more energy conservative than the people of New York City.
They're more spread out than New York City. LA has more people than they do. I think Chicago is about the same size and doesn't even take up a fifth of the land mass. Are you kidding me? We're comparing how can you compare that? You can't even compare that to Germany. You can't compare that to France, England. London has more people than that.
Well, the good news is in the shipping industry, leftist environmental engineers have finally come up with a boat that harnesses wind energy to transport goods across the ocean.
Frank?
Sail?
No, we can laugh about this.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true. There was an article a couple of weeks ago about the revolutionary breakthrough that took place in the shipping industry by being able to harness the power of the wind
To say.
to move
God damn
ships
it, Frank.
across the country.
So
Across the
you came up
ocean.
with the same thing I came up with. It's like, oh yeah, that incredibly brand new technology from the 1400s,
I was gonna say.
1200s maybe. I mean, okay.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the little boat that the fishermen were using at the Sea of Galilee when the storm came in,
yeah.
and Jesus calmed the storm, also had a sail.
So even
I
though
must have.
Or
I
before
I
Christ.
must have predicted this. I must be like Nostradamus because I've got that weird technology on my fucking arm.
they saw your arm and that's where they got the idea.
No, but I got God's honest truth. That was an article a month or so ago. I don't know if what one of these ridiculous so-called legitimate journalistic entities publish this, and they show a cargo vessel with huge sails on it, and they say we've harnessing the power of the wind.
Wait a minute. So it's not that they
3000 BC.
It's not one of those stupid windmills that they got.
No,
They
it's a
literally
sailboat.
They put up sails. Oh my
It's
god!
a freaking sailboat.
Oh my god!
And they're touting this as the greatest innovation to hit the seven seas.
Okay, Frank, I gotta look that one up. That's just insane.
3000 BC is when the first sailing ship.
All right.
You want to see the greatest thing ever?
2 quick things firearm related before I go, because I'm going to have to cut it a little short. We are having some pretty torrential rains here in North Carolina, and I got to kind of monitor what's going on around the property. According to his,
I think that.
Oh my god! I found it.
ATF, the question regarding whether or not somebody who's under that is being unconstitutional. Under indictment does not preclude them from being able to purchase a firearm because they have yet to have been adjudicated as a criminal.
Due process hasn't been established.
Right. So the judge said that question needs to come off of Form 4473. Now, I'm sure the ATF is not going to listen, not going to do anything. But that was a big kink in the armor now, because now we can start going after some of the other things that are ridiculous. Now, in response to what that judge said, well, maybe not directly in response, but they like to play tit for tat if they don't have an argument set up. Every now and then when somebody buys a firearm, and you're talking about a person who is completely 100% legal, they're not a criminal, they're not under indictment, they don't have a record, they don't have any problems whatsoever. Every now and then you'll have a 24-hour halt be put on the purchase for one reason or another, and the FFL has to tell you your background check came back for a halt, and we have to stop the sale of this. We can't do anything for 24 hours. Eventually, ATF clears it up, and you go about your business. But now ATF is instructing all FFLs nationwide that they have to make a change in their procedure. That now, if you happen to have your purchase be held up for any reason, and ATF has got to put a hold on it, that the FFL now needs to submit, because they only work off your name, social security, whatever.
ATF all this information.
ATF is now going to require the FFL to submit all of your information, including the gun you want to purchase, the serial number, your address, and all the rest of that stuff, and be.
It's
local authorities as well as Fed.
It's a loophole registry.
No, it is.
But they want to be able to institute an immediate investigation at the local level. So, in other words, when you go and you get denied, and they say, "Listen, Mr. Marshall, we can't sell you the gun today. There's been a hold on your 4473. We'll get this cleared up in about 24 hours. We'll notify you as soon as it comes back, and you can." Well, within that 24-hour period of time, you can damn near be sure that the sheriff's department, state police, or whatever local municipal police department that you have is going to be at your house investigating you. They're going to be showing up at your house. Now,
did you hear all the items that they want reported?
Yeah, but now hold on. Now it's important to remember one thing. On average, 95 out of every 100 holds are clerical errors that have nothing to do with any criminal activity or criminal behavior. or anything else like that.
Mhm.
So they're going to be instituting investigations against people who have done absolutely nothing wrong except try to exercise their right.
Yeah. And here's all the
Frank,
information.
do you know
there was.
anybody? Do you
Okay.
know anybody personally who has been put on that hold?
Yes. I
So
have
do
a
And the
good
only
friend of mine.
person-
I have a good friend of mine that went to go get an out-of-state pistol permit from the state of Pennsylvania, and they had to go for a hold for some reason because the state, while issuing mine, and I was standing right next to him when it was done, they issued mine and denied his. And he's a former police officer, former military, former everything. They denied a permit right there. It was eventually cleared up. But I know people who've been denied, who've had that hold put on them at the FFL.
The only person that I know that's ever had that hold put on him is an old one of my old employees. And I have to say, I can't say it couldn't be unrelated that one, U.S. citizen, no criminal history, African American descent, and his name is Hussein Muhammad. It's like, he's the one person you're going to put on hold? The one person. I know a lot of people, and he's the one that gets put on hold.
To be fair, he works with you. So that was probably what triggered it. Yeah, Michael Marshall, you were trying to come in with a list of information.
Yeah, the information they're wanting whenever somebody is put on one of these holds is name, the serial number of the rifle, type of rifle or firearm they're trying to purchase, the serial number of the firearm they're trying to purchase, their address, their phone number, their annual income, and their gender, their race. What else was there? There's one other thing I can't quite remember what it was. But basically everything that identifies you. Okay. And that and your social security numbers in that as well.
Jeez.
Okay. So you've got your name, date of birth, social security number, your address, your phone number, the serial number of the firearm, your gender, your marital status, your race, and your annual income.
Unbelievable.
Way too much information.
All shit that is not pertinent to. Here's the question: are you a criminal or are you not a criminal?
Yeah,
that's the only thing they need to know. Are you a prohibited person or not? That's all they need. Well, that's not even all they need to know. They shouldn't even need to know that much. That's all that they should be required currently under whatever bullshit.
Actually, the only thing they should need to know, is whether or not there's a warrant out for your arrest.
And then even still, just because there's a warrant out for your arrest doesn't mean the damn thing either. You could have a warrant out for your arrest for failing to pay parking tickets.
Mm-hmm. I went to jail for that, by the way.
What's that?
I went to jail for an unpaid ticket.
Oh, I have too.
Mm-hmm. I was arrested on Memorial Day in 2010, I think it was. I was fishing with my friends. Some park ranger with a wild hair up their ass came and harassed us. They left, and the sheriff came down and got all of our fishing licenses. And us being young kids didn't know our rights, and then got all of our driver's licenses. And she's like, "You're good, you're good, you're good, and you're going to jail." And took me to jail while I was fishing with my buddies for unpaid tickets.
I got put in jail for an unpaid parking ticket.
That's just stupid.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Frank, before you go,
yes,
I got my poster framing. And
I've been watching, and I've been catching glimpses here and there.
So there it
Oh,
is.
that is nice.
There's the official poster.
That's
That will be going into Red Dot Firearms November 1st. So there it is in all of its
While
glory.
we're talking about it,
And I'm
November
so fucking
1st.
excited.
that is nice.
November
Jeremy,
1st,
it's beautiful, buddy.
we are launching our new membership site along with our annual membership drive. And the first 250 people that register for a new membership, paid membership, will be eligible to win
Receive.
a custom engraved Henry Golden Boy 22 lever action rifle. Do you have that rifle handy, Jeremy?
I hold on a second. I can give it a chance. Comment here for a second. If you can see it in the
Mm-hmm.
banner on there, but yeah, it's the same one. It's in the picture as pictured. So it's in my safe right now. I didn't want to get it out again.
Yeah, the gun is under lock and key.
Now that again will be the first 250 new members starting November 1st will be eligible to win that rifle, custom rifle. The registration and entry we will not draw for that rifle until we have 250 new memberships.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no end date on it. If we are able to get those 250 members relatively quickly, we will consider doing another drive as well, another sweepstakes.
There's always
Or
going to be
the
there's
next
always going to be a
250.
benefit
Mm-hmm.
over and above what the standard membership rates, provide for members. There's always going to be something that we're going to do to give back, to say thank you, to have everybody help trying to promote what we're doing. And we're eager, and we have been, well, mostly Jeremy has been working so hard putting this thing together, to try and make sure everything is right. And Michael has been breaking his back over there on the computer end of it, just trying to make sure that we have everything set up so that when it's open for registration, it can be as quick and painless as possible, and that everything will be, spelled out in the open, so that the rules and regulations, everything is open. And me, all I'm doing is just sitting here wisecracking, telling stupid jokes, and the rest of that. But we will be doing some promotional videos with that rifle very soon.
Yes, we will be doing some promotional videos. We're going to be, and here's what you're going to get with this membership. Okay, it's not just some membership where we take your money and we forget who you are. Okay, you're going to get access to member exclusive content. Okay, where if you're not a paid member, you won't ever see this content. You're going to get first access to all of our content. Okay. Some of that will be a week early. Some of it may be a month early that you will have access to this content, depending on what type of content it is. You're going to be invited to participate in members only webinars where you are going to be able to come in and ask us questions. We're going to have question and answer sessions of the Liberty First Foundation. And that's going to be only available to paid members. And we're going to have many other events. You're going to have discounts on educational materials that we're going to be developing here over the next few years. And you're going to have discounts to various partnerships that we are developing now with manufacturers and distributors for all kinds of items that are widely sought after. So those are just a few, and we're going to be coming up with more and more benefits for our paid members. Something else that is going to happen from time to time is that we are going to have exclusive member giveaways. And it could be anything from a rifle like the one that we're giving away for this membership drive, to T-shirts, stickers, who knows? And the more support we get from you guys, the more that we're going to be able to do for our members. So, and that's one thing that we're going to have webinars on, is to explain what our roadmap is for the future, for the Liberty First Foundation and for our members.
And we're also going to be detailing a couple of ways that members can not only help us expand by promoting us, but how they can get involved as being chapter leaders, affiliate leaders, and representatives of the Liberty First Foundation, so that our message can not only come out in the voices that we present, but our message can come out in your voice. Because who's better to represent us in your community than a member of your community? And that would be you. So we're going to have different programs that are available, training programs that we're going to be doing, so that people are all on the same page. We understand what it is. Now, the Liberty First Foundation is not a monolithic viewpoint on any one issue. We all have our own personal points of view, and we present them on a weekly basis. And you can read in our articles, a lot of our points of view come across in our articles, because it's mostly opinion-based, but it's derived from factual information that we present to you to be able to draw your own conclusions on. But the one thing that we don't deviate from is our belief in the Constitution, our belief in liberty and personal freedom. And so long as people have that in mind as their core of their root value system, we can have all the differences in the world, because we're all still going to be on the same side fighting for what we believe in, even if we have differing points of view.
Absolutely.
And that's the other thing. One of our core commitments is to bring communities together. Okay, because this country was founded on a principle of being united. Hence, that's why we are called the United States of America. And the only way that we can actually get our country back is by us starting to unite together again. Even though we may have separate opinions and differing opinions, it doesn't mean that we can't unite as a nation and come together and stand upon principles that are founded in liberties and freedoms.
Liberty comes about best when it's not people. When people are forced to obey, there is no liberty or freedom. It only comes from people who talk, debate, and come to an agreement. It's the only way you can have liberty. It's the only way you can have freedom. It can't be forced. You can't be forced into liberty or freedom, because it never happens. History proves that.
And the Ninth Amendment says it best.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I'm going to read directly from it. Okay. Let me get up here to it. The right of the people. No, that's wrong. Wrong one.
New glasses, Mike.
The Declaration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. So, in other words, if it's not in the Constitution, then Congress has no authority over it.
And we could go on and on and on about the hundreds and hundreds of laws that are on the books that have to do with subjects that have never appeared in the Constitution. No matter how you try to interpret it, there are certain things that do not belong in the grasp of power of the federal government. And one day we'll start going over some of those things. But for now, I'm going to leave the rest of the show up to this guy, that guy, and that guy right there.
This guy's leaving too.
This guy is floating away. On a serious note, to our friends in Florida, Liberty First Foundation, we have been praying for you guys, and we want nothing but the best for you guys. Ride it out, stand tall, stand tough, and don't take no shit from anybody. It's your state.
And right there is actually a prime example of where we need to come together as a United States. And we need to quit worrying about the federal government bailing all this out. And we need to come together and start helping our neighbors.
Yeah, so to our Florida friends, if you want, chime in, give us a check mark, let us know that you're all right. And, we'll give you a shout out next time where we gather together. But until then, I'll leave it up to these guys. Good night. You guys be safe. Shoot straight. Love you.
Have a great night,
Frank.
Good night, guys. Good night, Jan.
I too just got a message. My friend from out of state is here. I'm going to sign off. I'm really excited about the things to come. And really excited about what we can do for each other. So
it's gonna be good.
it is. It's a great time to get on board and stand up for each other and stand up for each other in the country and in anything you do in life, and just know that we're here to protect you, and that's the only reason we exist.
Absolutely true.
Okay, when seconds count, police are minutes away. Have a good night, guys.
Night.
Have a great night, Jeremy. Thanks.
Oh, I almost ended the broadcast.
Oh,
I didn't. I'm glad there's a warning. Bye.
Good night.
yeah. Jeremy's notorious for cutting us early. It's like, oh, we're done. Oh, hit the wrong button. Do not put a shiny red button in front of Jeremy. He will hit it.
Yep.
But
good thing he's not president.
no, he still couldn't do worse than Biden, even if he tried.
Well, if he pushes that red button, you never know.
No, like Biden's, I'm sure they're hiding it from Biden on a constant basis. Hey, what's in the briefcase? Don't worry, sir. Don't worry. Just stay away.
Mhm.
Stay back. But I mean, it's been incredible. I mean, look at the things we've talked about today. That's just the most recent stuff that's happening in our country. It's incredible.
Here's what I don't get. Okay. Is both sides keep pushing for more and more and more governmental power.
Yeah.
Because they want to stop the other side. But what they don't realize is the same government power that they're trying to use against their quote unquote enemies is the same power that's going to be turned around to be used upon them at some point in the future.
Yeah, we see that all the time with the filibuster. It's been turned around. Executive orders, they keep turning it back on and off.
The Patriot Agreement, FISA courts.
Yeah.
Patriot Act, the FISA courts.
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's even being telegraphed right now in the congressional debates on a daily basis.
Oh, yeah. Now they're using.
Just wait till the Republicans are in charge.
Well, yeah. They're saying that, we're going to do investigations because you did investigations. And we know that they're going to try and impeach Biden because you impeached Trump.
Mm-hmm.
It's all become political tools. But the problem is these weapons that they're wielding are driving our nation towards an authoritarian bent.
Yeah.
Either, I don't care which side, it's driving us away from individual freedom into polarized political servitude. That's not what the Constitution's for. Just shrink the damn government.
Mm-hmm. And that's it. Okay. That was the intent of our founders, because that's the exact thing that scared the ratifiers of the Constitution. Okay. I'm not saying the framers. I'm talking the ratifiers, the people, the state legislatures that ratified the Constitution. Their
Yeah.
biggest fear, and the reason why they almost did not ratify the Constitution, was they're afraid of the national government having too much power.
Yeah, it's one of the things a lot of people don't know and isn't taught anymore. The Constitution was not a slam dunk. Everyone just didn't read it and go, yeah, I'm on board. Let's do this. The states were like, no, I don't care what you put in front of me. I don't want to do it. They wanted to have their own power.
It took over 2 years after it was written, took over 2 years to ratify it.
Yeah, New
And
York
that was 13 states.
Yeah. And I think New York was towards the end of the states that were one of the last ones to say yes.
I think New York was 10th.
Yeah.
If I remember right.
Yeah, I think it was right about there. Because people were saying no. And it tells you something about how much they believed in individual freedom.
And here's actually an interesting fact. Did you know that there was a new state that actually ratified the Constitution prior to the last of the original states?
No.
Yeah. Vermont actually ratified the Constitution prior to Rhode Island.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Didn't know that. No.
I think the dates have been skewed a little bit, but through the historical reading and stuff, Vermont actually ratified the Constitution prior to it being ratified by Rhode Island.
That's funny. And everyone thinks Rhode Island, who cares? It counts. It counts.
Actually, Rhode Island was one of the biggest reasons for the Philadelphia Convention.
Were they?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that.
Multiple times under the Articles of Confederation. Things that Rhode Island didn't agree with, that the rest of the states did agree with, Rhode Island was able to block it because many of those items required a unanimous consent. And Rhode Island was able to stop a lot of that. And that's one of the things that helped lead towards the establishment of the Constitution.
Well, we should all be very happy because the Articles of Confederation were so weak, we would never exist today under that.
No, we wouldn't. And actually, if we're still under the Articles of Confederation, which we wouldn't have existed to today, we would have ended up in a civil war long before we did.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
In fact, right around the time of the Philadelphia Convention, civil war was being talked about almost on a regular basis.
I can see that.
Okay. The problems that they're having with New York was charging excess tariffs to inland states, and a lot of the coastal states were charging excess tariffs to the inland states. And there's a lot of controversies, and the Articles of Confederation just could not deal with it. Not only that, there was no way for the United Confederation of States to actually get the money that they need to actually have a common defense.
Yeah. Now, Jan is mentioning something, and I think it's important to bring up. Jan's saying that she believes that the government control really began after the Civil War. People forget that, or are not taught that the Civil War started because of tariffs. The North wanted control. And she's right in that the Civil War, nowadays, everyone likes to say, well, the Civil War is about slavery. No, it's not. It never was. That was like the fifth, maybe sixth thing. It was absolutely tangential to why America had a civil war.
Mhm.
A week um, before Lincoln came out with his
Emancipation Proclamation.
Emancipation Proclamation, 1 week before, in the New York Times of the day, he came out with a op-ed telling everyone that if he could keep slavery and keep the Union together, he'd do it, because that wasn't the big thing. It was about the economics. The Civil War was about money and power. It was about the economics at the time. The North was industrialized, the South was agricultural. And believe it or not, people don't realize this nowadays. Back in those days, agriculture was more powerful and more beneficial than industrialization.
Mhm.
So the South had more power than the North did. They had more money than the North did. And so that's where there was a big argument about taxation, about trading of goods, that the North wanted more, not just, they didn't really want control so much as they wanted a fairer shake, because the South was dominating and was bilking them out of taxes and money, and along with it, power. And that's why the South actually was willing to go to civil war. They thought they could, one, afford it, and that their agriculture would give them enough allies around the world that they could stave off the North. That's why we got into that war. And it had nothing to do with slavery. That wasn't on the table. That was an afterthought. That was an after effect of actually going into the Civil War. That's why slaves, after the fact, starting getting emancipated. The emancipation was basically taking into account we were already going into that war. And this was a way to get the North to have more soldiers and to have more of the Southern slaves fight against the plantations to give the North more of an advantage. That's one of the main reasons why he actually did the emancipation, and why we didn't see the 13th, 14th Amendments until later, because it wasn't an issue. It was actually a tactical military strategy. And nowadays we romanticize, we have romanticized the idea and made that the focal point because of politics modern day, but that wasn't the reason. A lot of people don't realize that. They
don't. Another thing that people don't realize is, of the first 15 presidents of the United States, 9 of them were from the South.
Yeah.
Okay. Of those, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of those were specifically from the state of Virginia.
Yeah. And Virginia was a slave owning state.
Mm-hmm. So that was, people don't understand the power that the South actually had at that time. There was also a huge push along that time of states' rights.
Yeah.
Okay. Lincoln actually did not believe that the federal government had any authority to end slavery or to abolish it. He didn't think there was any constitutional authority for the federal government to abolish it.
Which is why he was willing to.
It was up to the states to decide whether or not they're going to abolish slavery.
Yeah, that's part of why he said in the newspaper that he was willing to keep the Union. If it meant keeping the Union, he'd keep slavery, because the states had the right to make that choice. There's so
and if
much.
you look at the Emancipation Proclamation that came out, Lincoln didn't abolish slavery in the North. He only abolished it in the South.
Yeah. Yeah. And people think that the North never had slaves. Yes, they did.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't as popular.
No.
And it wasn't as widespread.
Because it wasn't as needed up here.
Yeah.
Okay, because the North was more industrialized. Okay, So it didn't pay a lot of people to have slaves. It actually cost people more to own slaves than it was to hire actual workers.
But it did exist. It was legal in
Yeah.
many states in the North. And people don't realize that. And we're not advocating for it, but we are trying to give you the history that your teachers and many of the books and movies we see don't address at all. But it is part of our history, and it gives us perspective on the way we got to where we are today, and to make us understand we're not getting told the full story. We're getting told a political advantage story. We're getting an agenda. That's why we're hearing the stories we do today the way we do, that aren't historically accurate, that aren't backed up by the data, that there's a political angle that is being pushed to you through all the media to make you come to a conclusion that if you knew the facts, you wouldn't necessarily come to. Not that slavery should exist, but that it's not about, that Civil War wasn't about slavery. That was a byproduct. There were other things going on, and we must understand them to prevent the government from usurping its power. That, I think, is very, very powerful and important to understand. And it just isn't getting out there. People just don't realize it.
We need to look at, okay, at the time the Civil War really started gearing up. Okay. We had Zachary Taylor was 12th president, and he was from Kentucky. And Kentucky was obviously a slave state, and part of the South. Then you had Millard Fillmore of New York, Franklin Pierce of New Hampshire, James Buchanan of Pennsylvania, and then you had Abraham Lincoln of Illinois. All of them were northern states. And during that time period, there was a huge press to end a lot of the power that the South held. Okay. Even when the Constitution was being ratified and the constitutional discussions were happening, it was typically a North versus South issue. And it wasn't so much slaves as being discussion, even though that was brought up. I'm not going to deny it. A lot of the problems was with the North-South divide was whether or not it was going to be more of a Federalist type constitution, whether it's going to be more of a Republican type constitution, whether it's going to be lean more heavily towards state rights, or whether it's going to lean more heavily towards a national government of rights, and where authority was going to lie. And a lot of the southern states were really pushing hard for states' rights and less federal power. A lot of the North was pushing for more federal power. Something else that we have to understand and realize, under the control of the crown, New England, which gets its name because that was the primary place for English involvement, was a big component of pushing for a type of system that was more of a monarchy than it was a constitution or a system controlled by the people. And so that area, New England, the New England states, were primarily for a government of a lot more control. And the South was pushing for a lot less governmental control of a national government. And that's where the actual divide began. And that actually carried on all the way through and up to until the Civil War. And when the Civil War broke out, it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't about slavery. Slavery was a byproduct of the war,
Hmm.
or the ending of slavery was a byproduct of the war. It wasn't the cause of the war. The cause of the war was primarily due to that disparity between who should have more authority, the national government or the state governments.
Yeah. It's incredible when we start seeing all these factors, and there's so much history that isn't being taught in history, that isn't being shown to people today. And because there's so many, there's a small sliver of very loud voices that are trying to push an agenda to make you think about America in a very specific way. They want you to think America's bad, and they don't understand what they're even talking about. They're misrepresenting so much, and in misrepresenting it, they misunderstand how far we have come and why there are so many people, tens of millions of people that want to come to our nation because we are so free, because they do know the history. They do know where we have gone and the struggles we have had, and that we have come out of all of that as not just a strong, unified nation, but a free nation that no other country in the world, none of them actually can achieve.
Well, and something else that people do not understand, okay, is how prevalent slavery was throughout the world and how short of a time period, comparatively to the rest of the world, the United States actually had slaves. We were the quickest to go from a slave state
Mhm.
as a nation to a free state.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm not saying that we haven't had a problem since then. Okay. With Jim Crow laws and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Okay. And all those are, again, byproducts of slavery.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not denying any of that.
Of course.
But we were literally the ones leading the rest of the world towards the abolishment of slavery. And slavery still exists even today. In fact, it still exists even in this country,
Well, in Africa,
even
absolutely.
though we don't want to admit it.
Are you talking about the sex slave, the sex
Yeah.
gangs and sex slaves?
Yes.
Which they always try to. They say it's something else. They don't really want to say the word slave. That's what it is.
It's
Sex
human
slave.
They try to claim it's human trafficking.
Yeah, which is slavery. It's human.
Mhm.
That is slavery. That is sex slaves coming across our southern border. But we can't call it that because slavery has been ended. No, it isn't. It exists in Africa today. It exists in the world.
But it's not just people coming up from the southern border. It's American citizens, people born here in the United States, that are being forced into sex slaves.
Yeah, that is happening as well. Not as I would like to believe, not as much as those coming across our southern border. But I mean, if we can't honestly even call it what it is, if we have to come up with another term to hide it from people, to protect their emotions, and more importantly, to protect a political ideology, that's why we're having so many problems. If you told people, I truly believe if we heard our politicians come out and just say it, Kamala, Joe Biden, any of them, if any of our politicians just came out and straight out said, look, having an open border is helping to increase and promote slavery in America, modern day America, right this second. And so we need to close our border to help stop that, and to make sure and to help stop it around the world as well. People would get behind that, and that doesn't serve the political message of some that say, well, we need an open border because they want socialism. And I think that's the main reason why they don't call it what it actually is. Not thinking about, well, this is causing slaves to be sold out of Southeast Asia, out of Africa, South America. And we need to, if we closed our border on that basis, especially because of that basis, we would help to stop slavery globally.
Well, and something else that they don't understand, they don't get. Okay, and you know my position on this.
Yeah.
Okay, because we've had this discussion before.
Sure.
That technically, constitutionally, the federal government does not have the authority to determine who is allowed to cross our borders and not. Okay, that is actually a state prerogative until it becomes to the point where problems in a state start crossing state lines.
Right. Once
And
they
it starts
cross into the second state,
Right.
now
then it becomes a federal problem.
Yeah.
But the states have the authority to determine how they want to handle immigration at the state level.
we've
Okay.
gone back
The
and
only
forth.
thing the federal government has the authority over is to create a uniform means of immigrants becoming citizens of the United States. They actually don't have any authority constitutionally over immigration.
Right.
Okay. Now, that being said, a lot of human trafficking is compounded by the number of undocumented immigrants that we have here in the United States.
Yeah.
Okay, because they are too afraid, and a part of this is from the federal government exceeding its authority with ICE and etc. But these undocumented immigrants are too afraid to come forth when there is problems with human trafficking, sex slaves, slavery, other types of slavery. Okay, many of these quote unquote migrant workers that go around to fields from field to field to field to field during harvest and planting times, a lot of them are essentially slaves. They're given a place to live and they're given food to eat, and that's about it. Okay, they may not be whipped or any of that stuff, but they also know if they don't do the jobs that they're supposed to be doing, they're not going to be able to feed themselves. They're not going to have a place to sleep.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. And meanwhile, we have the potential of getting into a war with NATO. I want to come back to that. I really wonder, you notice there's no one who's put out a poll that I'm aware of. No one's ever asked, well, I think back in March, there were one or two polls asking people, do you want to fight? Do Americans want to fight for the Ukraine against Russia? Do we want to go to war? And as I recall, in March, the answer was no. Now we're looking at today. The question is back in front of us. And I would bet that even more Americans would say no.
Mm-hmm.
But we're watching governments playing politics, and they're trying to go and say yes. And the public doesn't want it. And you may be able to get away with that in, the United Kingdom or in France, where you don't have as many rights. But for here, how can we allow this to happen? We have to vote no in NATO. There's nothing that justifies us for letting them in. And it doesn't matter if you think Russia's the bad guy, and they are, or that Ukraine is corrupt, and they are. It's not our fight.
It's not our fight.
And
the thing is there's a reason why, Ukraine was denied so many times prior to the Russian invasion. Okay. And it doesn't have to do with just the geopolitics of the region. It has a lot to do with Ukraine.
Yeah.
Okay. Ukraine is not as nice as they're being portrayed.
Not even close. And I know a bunch of Ukrainians. I remember when I was in Moscow. I know, and that's not to say the individual people are bad. We're talking about governments.
Right. And there's, like I said, there's a reason why Ukraine was not allowed to join NATO prior to the Russian invasion. And I'm not condoning the Russian invasion. In fact, I think it was wrong.
Yeah.
We have to start looking at the full picture, not just what these politicians are trying to gaslight us with. And that's all it is. It's gaslighting.
Yeah. They're not talking about any of the consequences of what's going to come from this. Absolutely. In the news, they're talking no consequence at all. They're like, yeah, we'll bring them into NATO and, Russia will back down. No, they won't. And if they don't, then we'll go to war. We don't want to do that because the escalation you're talking about, and then what happens? Oh, it's not going to be Germany sending in most of the troops. It's not going to be the UK or Sweden sending in most of the troops. It's going to be the United States. We just got out of Afghanistan. Do we really want to spend another 2 decades fighting against Russia if they allow it to be conventional and they allow it to go that long? Because it escalates fast. Russia can drop 2 million people. They can drop, realistically, 1 million soldiers on Ukraine pretty damn fast.
And the thing is that they don't understand, and this keeps getting buried for events that are happening in Ukraine. They don't understand the powder keg that's happening in Taiwan right now. Okay. And the saber rattling that China's doing right now at the same time. They don't get it. And the thing is if we commit troops to Ukraine right now, I guarantee we will see action in Asia, around China, probably Taiwan. Guaranteed. And once that starts up, you can guarantee North Korea is going to start something.
Oh, guaranteed.
Because they're going to try to stretch us too thin.
And then comes Iran taking advantage because they want to see us all burn anyway.
Right.
So it's a perfect opportunity for them to start moving forward, which is, again, why I say Iran is the one who did the Nord Stream 1. They've got the most advantage. This escalates everything, and they get to win because they want us all to burn.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's why I always said, you remember? Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
I think it was the Chinese president, Xi, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Who came out and basically said, I don't understand why the United States has not become an authoritarian government. We can get things done so much quicker as an authoritarian government than the United States can.
No, he's right, but that's also because they're not free.
Right. Okay.
And slow down.
But that's what they believe. And that's what Russia believes. That's what North Korea believes. They believe that the governments of the world should be authoritarian. That there should be, that people don't have rights.
Yeah, I would recommend to all of them that they need to go back and reread Machiavelli, The Prince, and some of the treatises as well, which most people never talk about, but they're important as well. Reread that. There's a reason why authoritarian governments tend to not last as long as any other form of government. because you just can't militarize your nation 24/7. You can't keep it going that long. It just doesn't work.
It doesn't. Okay, and we think that China is this ancient government that's always been like it is.
No.
But we don't understand. China, what's going on in China right now, and authoritarianism that's happening in China right now, is relatively new.
Yeah, it was nothing like this during its monarchy. There are good and bad parts of it, of course, but it was nothing like what we're seeing today.
No. And that monarchy lasted up through World War II.
Oh, yeah.
China was an ally, a major ally of ours during World War II,
Mhm.
in the war in the Pacific.
When the United States bombed Japan, which most people forget, that after the first thing we did, well, not the first thing, but the first opportunity we had to get our aircraft carriers close, we sent bombers on a one-way trip to Japan to conventionally bomb them as a response to what they did with Pearl Harbor. And those planes, this was a one-way trip for them. The bombers all knew it. They could not come back. Their answer was, keep going after you drop your bombs and go to China. And the Chinese underground and some of their fighters would take our soldiers and they would circle them back to the United States if we were going to invade Japan. A lot of people don't know that story. It's an important part of our history.
No. And they don't understand, too, that a lot of American pilots went to China prior to World War II because Japan and China were at war, and they flew with an outfit called the Flying Tigers.
Yeah.
Against Japanese.
Yeah. And Agent Black thinks, and Agent Black, for people who don't know, he's one of our audience members who's from the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And he mentions that he thinks that China is going to act after the next meeting of the CCP, the Communist Party of China. And I tend to think he's probably right because that's going to be happening, I believe, this month, which is just in time for all of this NATO situation to shake out one way or the other. So I think the timing is dangerous for global stability.
Another thing that we don't understand is communism in Russia, too, is not that old.
No, 75 years, which is not that old at all.
Okay.
Yeah, as world governments go, 75 years is very, very short.
Mm-hmm. So these are aspects of our history that people do not grasp or understand. Allowing China open police station to monitor Chinese people.
What? Jan, I don't know that one.
No, neither do I.
Yeah, Jan is saying, what about the USA allowing China to open a police station to monitor Chinese people? I've never heard about that. And that's absolutely not constitutional. I can't even see state government or local governments allowing that. Hell, the idea of the the Confucius Institute, which is basically a spy agency in some of our colleges, has been virtually shut down around the world. There's only like 20 colleges in the United States that still allows it, including Binghamton University, where I'm at, and where Eric Swalwell went to in Delaware. They still have it, but almost everywhere else has been shut down because you can't let another foreign government into your country and run things, whether it's a college or anything else. That's crazy. Wow, I gotta look that up.
Yeah, I've checked that out too because I haven't heard anything on that.
I'm just checking that now. Oh, hang on. New York Post, 10 hours ago. Oh my God. I just found it. Okay. Jan, you are 110% correct, and I just found it. And the public, anyone who wants to say, "Oh, well, that's just from kind of right-wing news agency," nope, I found it. I can share that. There it is. This is from the New York Post. So, credible news agency. There is no question here. China has opened police stations in U.S. and Canada to monitor Chinese citizens. September 30th, 2022 came out at 1:29 p.m. So I'm just looking, first time I'm seeing this, I'm looking it over. China has opened dozens of overseas police service stations around the globe to monitor its citizens living abroad, including one location in New York City and 3 in Toronto. Why am I not surprised that New York City is allowing this? Quote, these operations eschew official bilateral police and judicial cooperation and violate the international rule of law and may violate territorial integrity in third countries involving in setting up parallel policing mechanisms using illegal methods, reads a report by the Safeguard Defenders, a human rights watchdog, and they are 110% correct. What they are saying is if you allow another country, China in this case, to have its police operating under its laws in another country that has an entirely different set of laws, you are going to have anarchy. Who in the hell in New York State, in New York City and New York State allowed this to happen? Kathy Hochul has lost her damn
Well,
mind.
that isn't the only foreign entity, though.
I'm just trying to see if they show who authorized this. It's funny. The report doesn't say who authorizes this.
Back in 2019, there's a lot of the Muslim Citizens Patrols started up, which were a Muslim police agencies, and they were enforcing Sharia law.
When we're not talking about a community like a city like Islamburg in New York, which is its own city, and so they get to delegate laws. It's not like we're talking about a community watch, your local neighborhood watch, which has no legal authority or very limited legal authority within their community. We're talking about, the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the right to privacy, the right to anything.
Right.
None of that applies.
Right. And the same happened with this Muslim community community patrols. Okay, and some of these were in New York City.
Tim Pool's talked about, I didn't know he ran a story on this. There's only so much time to follow so many stories, but this is shocking to me. Who authorized this? Seriously, who in the hell in New York City? So this has to be appointed Governor Kathy Hochul. It has to be,
or it's Adams.
Eric Adams. They had to be the two who said, yes, you can do this. How has the DOJ not shut this down instantly?
Because it's not happening just in New York City.
I don't care about the rest of the world. It can't.
It's also, I will almost guarantee it's happening in LA.
I'm sure if it's happening in New York, it's happening in LA. But neither Governor Newsom and Kathy Hochul, they don't have nor does Mayor Eric Adams. None of them have the power to do this.
No, they don't. Okay, the federal government doesn't have the authority to do it.
Exactly.
To allow it.
And not one news report is showing who said yes. Gee, I wonder why. Yeah, news came out a day ago. Gee, I wonder why this didn't hit national news and get really pushed, why no one's talking about it. The story's getting buried.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, every news source is reporting the exact same thing about this. No one is saying who authorized it.
And it will be out of the news cycle before the end of the weekend.
Hell, it's already out of the news cycle. I didn't see it, and I spend like 8 hours a day reading news. Didn't hit my radar. So it's already out of the news cycle. This thing's getting suppressed. Yeah, there's literally the New York Post, Yahoo News, and that is exactly everyone. No. I stand corrected. I think might be the same story. Might be the same story from the Free Beacon. But as major news agencies, major mainstream media,
Yeah, I guarantee you're not going to see it in the AP or NPR.
nope. Nobody else is covering this. They have completely shut this story down. The major news media is not even talking about it.
Whatever happened to the UP?
United Press?
Yeah.
AP crushed them.
Yeah, because the UP was basically the alter ego of the AP.
Yeah. They got crushed. About a decade ago, maybe 15 years ago, they got crushed. Yeah, there is nobody else. And no one will say who authorized this.
No. And we'll never know.
How can we not know? This is a foreign government operating fully and clearly against the laws and regulations and Constitution of the United States on U.S. soil.
Well, and here's the thing, and here's where it's going to come about. And I almost guarantee that this is what's going to come out. Is these are not citizens. The people they are conducting law enforcement exercises on are not citizens of the United States. So the United States really doesn't have any authority over them other than the fact that they are in the United States.
That's crap, because the Supreme Court has already made the decision and has already clearly litigated that once anyone is on United States soil, the Constitution and the amendments apply to them. That's why illegal aliens get rights. That's why Guantanamo, the detainees in Guantanamo won't be allowed into the United States, because the second they set foot in the United States, we will treat them entirely differently.
Right.
And we denied that to them. It is an established statute of American law. Even if they are Chinese national, if they are in the United States, every one of the amendments and the Constitution and all the laws of every state apply to them as they would any American citizen. So someone from China cannot come, a police officer from China cannot come, as an example, to New York City, see a Chinese national complaining about the Chinese government and arrest them because they don't have the right to the First Amendment in China. You can't do that on American soil.
No, I agree. And I also agree that the Constitution is applicable to anybody within the boundaries of the United States.
Yeah.
Okay, regardless of what their status is.
Yeah.
And the main reason why is because when the Constitution was established, we still had a lot of people that were not considered citizens of the United States.
Sure.
Okay, they weren't even considered citizens of the states that they were in because they hadn't met the requirements to become citizens yet.
That's why we had birthright citizenship. Their children instantly
Right.
became citizens, resolving the entire issue.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. So this is something, according to Agent Black, this is something that's being talked about in, social media is talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
Dal and Jan are mentioning that this is something that they've seen, and other sources, including Tim Pool. But you know what, folks? That's not enough. Just because Tim Pool is one of the more popular people on YouTube, that's not CNN. That's not MSNBC. That's not the New York Times. That's not CBS and ABC. Tim Pool, yes, he gets more people to watch some of his shows than CNN. He's not getting more news coverage than all of the mainstream media combined, which means this is inadequate. This should be mainstream news.
It should be. Okay. And I guarantee, regardless of party affiliation, that the American citizenry would go batshit crazy if they actually heard about it.
I would hope they would. I would imagine they'd have to. What liberal, what progressive would say you don't have the right? Well, China shuts down just about everything. I mean, they're the same people who say we have open borders and everything that we have, we should give to everyone else.
Exactly.
Say, oh, yeah. And those progressives also say, well, no, but China gets the right to deny them. It's like saying the illegal immigrants don't get to have housing and health care. They would never say that. So I can't imagine them saying that this is okay for the Chinese to do this on American soil.
No.
This is crazy.
No. And that's actually one thing that would actually unify us.
This is not this story. I'm glad we're talking about it because someone, thank you, Jan. Thank you, Dal. Thank you,
Yes,
H.
thank
Black,
you.
because this is crazy. And I know this weekend on my live stream, I'm going to be talking about this in part because this is just crazy. I hate it. And I was one of the people who helped break some news about the Confucius Institute, but this takes it to a new level that is absolutely insane.
Yeah. And the fact that we are allowing any foreign agency, okay, whether it's Chinese, whether it's Muslim, or whatever, to go beyond what's allowed in the Constitution is just mind-boggling to me.
I wouldn't let the British do this. And they're our closest, best ally, and almost exactly the same, very close to us in almost every aspect. They're almost 100% aligned with, 75% aligned with us in most respects. And I wouldn't let them even consider doing this.
And damn sure, I wouldn't let Canada do this.
Yeah, and they're milquetoast. They agree to everything. I mean, who would care? Come on. Canada no one cares about Canada. I know Canadians are upset, but come on, be honest. They're pushovers for the most part. No, this is just no on every single level. I cannot think of any statute in any city, state, or government that would even get close to allowing this to happen. Who the hell authorized this?
Yeah.
And how do we not know that first and foremost? Somebody needs, you know what? They're protecting somebody. Somebody
big time.
This has to be coming from, I would say, a combination of Mayor Eric Adams and appointed Governor Kathy Hochul. They had to be working together to say yes to this. It's the only way that this could happen. They had to be working together on this. And they're afraid the major news media is afraid that this absolutely would turn the midterm elections in New York State in a second. This would be something that would turn around the governor's race in New York in a second if the major public knew about it. And that's why, I'll bet you that's the reason why they're not talking about it. Yes, except for, Canada doesn't like trucks. Other than trucks, it's pretty much a pushover. It's crazy. I don't know. I've got to reach out to some of my sources in DC and see if I can get somebody to give me an answer on this.
Yeah, this is yeah. And this only goes to show how when we, the citizens, don't hold our governments accountable at the local, state, and federal levels, we get shit like this that happens.
Yeah.
Okay, we have became too complacent, and we've been taught from birth that we always must submit to authority. No, we don't. Okay, our country was founded on holding authority accountable.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what we as citizens of the United States are required to do. Citizens of any free state are required to hold their governments accountable.
Everyone watching this, you need to reach out. I don't care what state you're in. If you're an American, you need to reach out to your government officials and tell them to protest this, to find out who's responsible, to fire them, possibly criminally prosecute them, because this may be treason. I think this falls under treason, and to prosecute them as harshly as possible and kick the Chinese police, the government of the Chinese, out of America right now. Get those police officers out. Everyone should have a letter out to their elected officials saying, you've got to make sure whoever did this is charged as fully as possible and that those guys are immediately expelled from the United States, period.
I couldn't agree more. And honestly, when we say hold the government accountable, we're not talking about taking up arms against the government. No. We're not talking about that. But there are many, many ways that you can hold government accountable. To the Constitution, to their oaths of office, etc. And that's really what we are all about here at the Liberty First Foundation. No sounds bites allowed. We are all for government accountability.
Yep.
Period. Okay. And with that, some of the ways that we can do that is peaceful noncompliance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Not complying with unconstitutional mandates, orders, laws, etc. Okay. One of the best ways, and one of the ways that we have in ensuring accountability to the Constitutional, is through our civic duty of jury duty. Okay, that is one of the quickest ways that we can actually say this law is unconstitutional. We refuse to enforce it. And Del Grimm says it exactly. The word no can get pretty powerful. And that's what we need to do. That's why where we need to unite. Okay, we need to unite together for government accountability, and not just one party holding one party accountable while we let the other one run rampant. No, we've got to hold all of them accountable. Every one of them. Okay.
Right.
And when we refuse to do that, then we literally authorize our government to act in the means that they are acting. Okay. And it doesn't require us taking up arms. It doesn't require any of that. Okay. But it does require action in our communities. It requires us getting the word out. And that's what we do here every week. That's what Michael does on his live stream every week, every Sunday. So start working on getting the word out. Number one. Number two, working in communities to start bringing the communities together. Okay. Start building communities that are less reliant upon state and federal government and that are reliant on the communities and the members of the community. Okay. Start working on things like that. If we start getting so that our dependence is not on the federal and state governments and our dependence is on us, then we start building freedom back.
We've got to, we are obviously losing far too much ground on this. That this has happened, we have lost far too much ground. We have not paid enough attention to our government.
Okay. With that, I'm going to go ahead and end this round for this evening. Okay. We've been going almost 2.5 hours.
Yep.
I once again want to remind everybody, starting November 1st, we will be launching a new membership-based website at the Liberty First Foundation, which you can find at l1f.us. Okay. One of the things that we're doing when we launch this new website is we are going to be having a membership drive. We run into a lot of expenses doing what we do. Okay. Everything from the ability to be able to bring this broadcast to you or this live stream to you every week, to the cost of our website, to our cost to be able to investigate various stories and stuff, to going out and talking to people. All this stuff comes at a cost to us. So we're going to try to help defray some of that cost by offering people paid memberships. And with those paid memberships, you're going to have access to a lot of member exclusive items, stuff as member exclusive content. Members will get first access to a lot of our content. You will get member discounts for educational items and so forth. But one of the big things that we're doing also when we launch our new membership site on November 1st is we are having a giveaway for the first 250 new members to pay for a membership. They will be eligible to win a brand new Henry Golden Boy custom engraved 22 lever action rifle. Now, the other thing that we are going to be doing as things progress along and as we get more and more support is we are going to start becoming a lot more active in fighting back against some of these constitutional violations. But again, all that comes with money or costs money. Okay. It takes money to open lawsuits. It takes money for this, that, and the other. And we only have so much resources to be able to do. So with that, we're going to go ahead and sign off. I want to thank everybody that participated tonight. Dale, Jan, Agent Black, thank you so very, very much for participating in the conversation.
Absolutely.
And I want to invite everybody to join us here every week, every Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time as we have these discussions. Now, we're going to start working on setting up some things and maybe trying to get a little more structure in the show, but it's kind of hard to do that when, with the way everything's happening, it's hard to get ahead of the stories.
Yeah.
So it's hard for us to say, okay, we're going to be talking about this on Friday when this hasn't even happened yet. So please bear with us as we try to get things a little more structured, but we are working on it. Okay, we haven't been doing this for that long. But one of the biggest ways that you can help us in the short term is to like and share this
Subscribe.
stuff and subscribe to our broadcasts. Okay, that will go a long way in helping us get things. Visit us on Facebook, visit us on Twitter, Instagram, and on YouTube. Okay, you can find us under the Liberty First Foundation. On YouTube, you can also visit our sister channel, the Range Report L1F. There we have a lot of gun reviews and gun related content that you won't necessarily see on the Liberty First Foundation. But there's a lot of great information there. Okay, with that, Michael, why don't you go ahead and give a plug for your stuff, and then we'll go ahead and end this live stream.
Sure, everybody, you're always welcome. Every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I do a live stream with everyone from around the world to tell us about what you think is important, the issues that matter to you. We're definitely going to be talking about this China in the United States this Sunday, but every Sunday at 2:30 p.m., we talk about all the major issues. It's open to everyone in the world. You can chat, tweet, call into the program. You can find us on YouTube and actually all social media. Just look for No Sound Bites Allowed, as you see behind me. Just type that in. You'll find us in every search engine. And every Friday at 9 p.m., I'm here with the rest of the guys with the Liberty First Foundation. I also sometimes write articles for them on specific subjects, covering everything. And that's, the best thing you do. Please remember, like, share, subscribe. That lets our voices be heard to talk to you about the issues that matter, because they honestly don't want you to, which means you really should.
Exactly. Okay. Thank you, everybody, again. And with that, we're going to go ahead and say good night.